retired, and he started flying in 2009. So, JP, I know you're ready.
Thank you, Slip.
Will this be in English?
Well, speaking of this, when we discussed the organization of this meeting with Dwight, Dwight told me, I'm going to talk off the cuff. And no time to make a presentation, so I thought, well, why not? I'm going to talk off the cuff too. Then I remembered something that happened 2 years ago. It was at the open house at Jefferson Airport, you remember, Kent? Quite a few people of this chapter came, and some of them were with airplanes, of course, and we were a few with cars. So for lunch we decided to take the guys flying in our cars. So Ken told me, you take Bobby Cox, okay? So I go and meet Bobby Cox had come with his Super Cub with Paul White. So I go and see Bobby Cox. I told Bobby, we are going to have lunch at Chatler Spring, and we are splitting about among several cars, so you're coming with me. And Bobby Cox looks at me. And a nice gentleman, Southern gentleman, is not going to tell me he didn't understand anything. He turns to Paul White and tells him, what did he say? So, I decided to show you pictures. I took lots of pictures. I did a blog while I was building, so I took lots of pictures, so it was as easy for me to gather these pictures and not make a big deal of a big show. Okay? So let's go to business. Doesn't work. I don't know how to use it.
Do you want a short presentation?
I want to call the browser. Where is the browser?
Do you want to just make this full screen?
Yeah, just want the browser. I want to.
Use the arrow keys.
No, I need to see it here. I need to see it here. Oh, I want to go. There is an order of these things. Can I be in the browser? I want to show the browser here. Because I will control it from the browser. Okay, that's what I want. I don't want this, I want to see the button. Here we go. Come on.
It's much smoother on movie night, I just want you to know.
Yes, but I want to use this. I want to use the next slide. I want to click on this, and this thing is coming in front of me. Okay, so I wanted to start with motivation. Why did I start this thing? And one of my first motivation is on this picture. Does anybody here knows where this picture was taken and who is on it? Of course, there is a clue actually. Okay? So before starting, I went to take advice of two guys I admire a lot, the Wright brothers. Since I came to North Carolina, I have been fascinated by the story of the Wright brothers. It's a very, very inspiring story. So I am here with Wilbur, asking him, Wilbur, am I right? I'm like you in 1901, or maybe even less. I have never flown a plane, and I intend to build one. So the next phase, the next thing that happened to me is that I came on a story by Lynn Mattison, who is EAA 750157, And this guy is from Michigan. And he published this story in 2007 on sport aviation. And the story is building an airplane, learning to fly, and doing life at 70. I thought, this is for me. If there is any doubt that I can do it, this is lifting the doubt, you know. So this is actually my story. I did exactly the same thing as Lynn. I'm probably 10 years younger, but I started building at 68. And I completed it a bit later than he did, but he cheated. He bought a partly built kit actually. So I took the kit from the beginning, as you will see soon. Okay, another inspiration, actually, when I decided in 2009 to start looking at building a kit, I went to AirVenture 2009. And I was very impressed by Sonex. Of course, the price is very impressive too. And I found the guys at Sonex booth very nice. And I was going to build a Sonex and started when I came back to communicate through the website. And I was actually, I got into contact with a guy who is in my neighborhood. His name is Peter van Chakwick. And I visited him, and he was in the late stage of his build, so I got involved a little bit with his plane. And here he is testing, running his engine for the first time. And where was a guy with him? This is Peter. Peter is here. There's another guy here, I don't know who it is actually. You recognize him? Here.
It's that good-looking guy in the back.
So I almost started doing a Sonex, and then, and this is Peter about 3 months later, after his first flight to, I don't know what this place is. You recognize it? Okay, with Shani, his wife. And he sent me the picture. I thought, wow, I will never be able to do that. And in a Sonex, well, I had second thoughts. After Peter, actually, Peter experienced a problem when he did his first engine run. There was the engine of the Sonex actually is a Volkswagen engine. You build it too. It comes in pieces. Peter had a big problem on his first run. There was a leak, and he had lots of difficulties identifying where it was. Oil was coming out of the shaft, and finally he found out that there was an error in the machining of the crankshaft. That drilled too far, and actually it was communicating outside. And so Peter tore down his engine. He was very upset about that. And I helped him a little bit rebuilding, and this is the engine while he's rebuilding it. So this gave me a pause, you know, as an inexperienced pilot, thinking that I could do something wrong or something bad could happen in the engine that you have built. I thought, no way, I'm not going to go this way. Plus, the other thing that gave me a pause is that this is EAB building, which means that you are having, at least in the case of Peter, I think it's 40 hours of phase 1 test. I'm not going to do phase 1 test. I'm going to pay a test pilot for 40 hours to test my plane. So this led me pretty quickly to identify what was the ideal kit to build, and the answer was the RV-12. The RV-12 is a Rotax engine. I was actually at the time I made my decision already taking lessons on the Allegro, which is a RV-12 driven. I had a lot of confidence in the engine. When I was hearing the engine in flight, it made me comfortable, you know. It's such a smooth engine, not that noisy. So I thought the Rotax is a solution for me. Of course, given my age, light sport was a solution too. You know, you never know when you're in your 60s how long you are going to be in good health. Although I had no particular health problems, I thought it's the conservative way to start flying. So here I am in business in 2010. Well, this is not very good. I'm sorry about that. I am at the same time building and learning to fly. And I have put here the timeline. There is no way to make it more focused, I guess. Is there?
Focus or zoom?
Well,
Hit the plus
hit
on the bottom.
slideshow.
No. Ah, okay, good. But you want to operate? Help me a lot. Thank you. Okay, so I have put here the timeline of building and flying, learning to fly, actually. So I started in June 2010, I received my kit number 1. You see that the RV-12 is made of 6 kits, actually, the 6 is down. And my build spread between June 2010 and last September 2013 when I had the first flight. Now, when I started 2010, I was actually taking flight lessons since 2009 on the Allegro and the Rimos, but mostly on the Allegro. In May 2010, which means that it was at the time I received kit number 1, I made my first solo. In January 2011, my first cross-country solo, and I was at the time in kit number 3. I got my check ride with Zendalies in January 2011, in June 2011, and I became a sport pilot then at 70. So filling the objective of Lynn Matheson, actually. July, kit number 4, the finishing kit. In 2000, I continued the flight lessons because I felt that at some point I need to learn much more than I know. I started transition training in 2012, actually. I call transition training the fact that I had learned on Allegro, which is a high-wing airplane, and I knew the RV-12 as a low wing might behave differently. So I found a guy giving flight lessons on a sport cruiser in Salisbury. I started this transition training in 2012 and spent a lot of time on the sport cruiser before going to the RV-12. So we arrived here in the end of 2013, where I had my first flight, and I had my final transition training, which didn't take more than 5 hours, and started flying solo my RV-12. So this is the kind of thing that I did in the last 4 or 5 years. I'm going to show you more details about the building side now. If I find it. No, it's not next. We have to change the directory, so we have to go back. So, which is kit number 1. Okay, start.
Yeah.
Okay, here is my first kit, here in the box, just been delivered. Of course, what I didn't mention is that to do this work, I didn't want to mobilize my garage, so I had a second garage built in my backyard. It's a one-car garage that in theory was sufficient to do the job. And here you see the shelves are empty, waiting for the stuff to be unpacked. Among the stuff, by the way, there was... So the first kit is empennage, which means vertical and horizontal stabilizer, the tail cone and rudder. Relatively easy things, except that when you're a new builder, you know, you have to get used of on a lot of things, and particularly the tools. It's with the tools like those problems. There was also a box of all the rivets needed to do this airplane. Guess how many? 12,000. And these are only the pop-up rivets. There are a few hundreds of solid rivets that are even... It was a box this size, and I had a picture somewhere, I didn't put it here, but when you do the inventory, they say, carefully count all the pieces. There was an exception for the pop rivets. They say, don't count the pop rivets. So here we are at the beginning, and this is 2010, June 2010. First thing I built is a vertical stabilizer, and right away I went to flight testing. Okay? Now, you cannot catch all the subtlety of this, but in French, the control stick is called a manche à balai, which means broom handle. And to show you how picky the guys are in this group, I sent this picture on our list server. And you know what a guy answered me? Your headset is not connected. This is the horizontal stabilizer, which is actually a stabilator. What are missing here is the, how do you call it? The anti-servo tabs, yes, which come later. But else it's both horizontal stabilizer and elevator, yeah. Okay. This is the tail cone, also part of the biggest part of the first kit, and it's a pretty bulky part. Actually, I had a problem. Well, I had a problem all the time. You know, it's a one-car garage. You see how it's not that wide, and as you build, these things take room. So, vertical stabilizer, stabilator, and rudder went straight away in the guest bedroom, and they stayed there for a couple of years. My wife was not too happy about that. This was more questionable to bring it in the guest bedroom. So what I did, I tucked it under the roof, and it stayed there also for quite a while, of course. Oh, this reminds me that I brought here this drawing you see over there on the wall, which shows in details all the details of the plane. Unfortunately, we are not in a setup where I can show it to you, but you see much better here what the parts of the first kit are. Basically, from this bulkhead to the end. This is the first kit. Okay, so at this point the first kit is over, so we have to go back in and go to the kit number 2. Yes, thank you. My timeline. So kit number 2 arrives in October 2010. These are the wings. So this is all the skins, and this is a spar. It's a very long box that can be used later on to put flowers, for example, things like that. So I start building the wings in the middle of winter, and before closing these wings, I used a nice feature of EA Group, which is use of a technical counselor. So I asked for a technical counselor to come on an inspection of what I had done. And a guy, I don't remember his name, came to my place and made a nice inspection, was very encouraging in his report. He's making a report, I still have the report. Actually, he collected all the reports he made. So at this point, he didn't know that I would give him a hard time when he paints my plane, but that's another story. We'll see that later. So these are the flaperons that are part of the wing kit. My daughter came and started helping me, and she's holding one flaperon. You see that they're pretty impressive. And then arrives, when was that? About mid-year 2011. I'm finished with my two wings and the two flaperons. I start building a wing rack, EAA plans of course, and put it in my basement this time, no question. I couldn't continue to work with the wings inside the workshop. And you see my rack of bottles at the end here, so we're in good company here. Okay, so we are done with the wings. We are, now we can go to the next one, yes please. We are in June 2011, and I start building the fuselage. So the fuselage starts with this part, which is actually a very strong part. You know, this is a center beam, and it will take under the center beam, the landing gear will come and be bolted against it. It's a pretty thick piece of aluminum, and lots of solid rivets here, come here. So we are sitting in front of it here. And actually the wing spars are also coming and sliding in front of it, the two wing spars. Yes, for those who don't know the RV-12, it's the only, I think, light sport that has removable wings. A very convenient feature, and you are going soon to see why it's so convenient. When I continued to build, you see that at some point to have a better access inside the cockpit, I built it with the fuselage on the side, so that I could much more easily work inside rather than going into it. So the fact that the wings are removable means that you can, for a long time, work without the obstruction of the wings on the airplane. Actually, still now, when I do my first annual review, I will remove the wings to have better access to everything. So the fuselage is probably one of the biggest work to do. At some point you see I attach the tail cone. The tail cone is no more hanging here, but has been attached. But it's still workable. I still can turn it on inside. My daughter came and we installed the seat, so we could really do real airplane noise. That's from starting from this point. That's it. Ah, yes, an interesting one here. While I was building the wings, probably in the middle or the end of 2011, Vance announced that they had discontinued their initial avionics. The first avionics was a Dynon D100 with here, located here, a Garmin GPS. What happened is that the Garmin stopped making this GPS. So Vance was stuck, and rather than taking the new version of the GPS, they knew the Skyview had just come out. So they decided to switch the Skyview because the Skyview has a GPS integrated. So they come with this, and this is not mine, it's what they displayed at the time when I was building the wings. The new panel, of course, my panel was for the old avionics, which means that this part and this part had to be changed because the sky view is larger than the D100 side of the screen. So first big change, and they took this opportunity to change also the position of the buttons and so forth. So it was the first thing that I experienced that would happen again and again. The RV-12 being a pretty recent design, I think they started officially, it was complete from the kit standpoint in the end of 2009, I think. But not that many planes had been built at this point. By the way, my kit number is 395. Which is pretty respectable for a kit recent, just 2 years old. But at this time there were less than 100 planes flying, I think. There would be more changes during my build, and I was lucky for each of these changes. Actually, it came on time so that I didn't have too much rework to do. Here I just had to reorder these two panels. Another big change was related to the fuel tank. We'll see it in the next kit. And lucky enough, I was very lucky in this case actually, because the fuel tank I had the option to buy it or to build it. And with the advice of some guys, I decided to build it. I was reluctant to build it because the fuel tank is aluminum. And there is lots of dirty work to be done with ProSeal to seal it. I was reluctant to go into this, and the guy told me, you know, I think it's Noel Falwell. Are you here, Noel? No, he's not. Noel told me, you know, if you buy it, you will not know what kind of screw-up they made in it. If you build it, you will. I think it was a very good idea, you know. So I decided to build it, and lucky enough, if I had ordered it actually, I would have received it, and then the change by Vance would have happened, and I would have to reopen it to make the change. So I got the change just on time before I built it, and that was pretty lucky on my part. Okay, so let's go now. We are in June 2012. We are in June 2011. Finishing kit is coming. The finishing kit is lots of stuff actually. Finishing kit, it's wiring, gas tank, landing gear, canopy, cowling, autopilots. Lots of little stuff which explain well, the big box is also explained by the fact that inside there is a canopy bubble. So this is my gas tank being under test. You see the balloon is here to show that there is no leak. The canopy here with a critical part here, very difficult, and I didn't want to do it. It's the canopy fairing in fiberglass, and I asked Roger Fowler, who is part of this group too, who is very skilled in fiberglass work, to do it. So he took care of this part. I'm happy that he did it because it's very nice and it's so visible that if you don't do it well, everybody will see it. This is the first time we put the wings on, and I think it was one the opportunity of one of the EAA group visit of my workshop. Now then it's on its gear now, so it starts looking like an airplane. You know, you get very famous when you are building an airplane in your neighborhood. I used to work with my open door, and for a long time, you know, this thing looks like a boat. And it took quite a while for neighbors who are driving by to find out that I was building a plane. And then I became famous, you know. My wife was once at a meeting at the local church, and there was a nice lady on her side, and they found out they were in the same neighborhood. And the lady told her, do you know that there is a man building a plane in our neighborhood?
Well, what did your wife say? Did she deny it? Never heard of it. Never know. Such a crazy guy.
Maybe she did. She didn't tell me the end of the story. Who knows? So now we are in. I received kit number 4, finishing kit in July 2011. We are in June 2012. 1 year later, with kit number 5, which is the avionics. Of course, 1 year later, because Vance had lots of problems doing releasing the new avionics kit with the Skyview. They had lots of problems because they were nice enough, of course, to take into account the people like me who had built it before, which means that my wiring in the finishing kit was based on the old avionics. So they had to produce a new avionics kit for the new buyers, but they had also to produce the adaptation to the guys like me who had the old wiring. So it took them longer, and so I had 1 year, basically I had 6 months that weren't wasted because I found things to do, but delayed my build. Until then I had each sub-kit every 6 months, and here it's a year. And you see here in a pretty well advanced stage my avionics panel. All the wiring here is pretty messy because it's not yet tugged in correctly, but it shows you how much work you have to route all these wires along the center channel, some of them to the tail. This is a view of the avionics panel from the top. So you see the back of the Skyview, and you see something very smart that Van did. Rather than wiring directly the Skyview to different equipments, they have a center box here which centralize all the wiring. So it will allow probably in the future to hide some of the changes, at least to have them localized to only between one equipment and the center box. So it's a very nice system. I think we have to go to the next one. So June 2012, avionics. Avionics basically is made of Skyview, Garmin radio, intercom, transponder, ELT. So pretty well equipped actually for light sport. Then December, no, we have to go to the painting first. Yeah, December, from December to February 2013, I went into painting. So this is my painter who was nice enough to come and pick up my plane. You know this guy who it is? Where are you? Yet to leave. Okay. He didn't want to hear it actually. He escaped. Terry Gardner, my actually technical advisor, was also my painter. He called himself Monet. Claude Monet. I didn't invent it. He said it himself. So Terry came, pick up my plane, and here we go. You know what Terry did? He put my airplane on a rotisserie. He didn't want to bother going under the fuselage. So this plane now is on a rotisserie. You see that it's on a... You see? Much easier to paint the bottom this way. In his paint booth.
You can use it as a simulator too.
Right, good idea. Yeah, I could have tested my Hadar with this situation. Here we are just after putting the primer on the plane. And canopy work too, just painted here, very nice white. Second layer, the blue on the top, and we had lots of problems. But made it, and here is my plane all painted on its way back home. And then we go to the next kit, which is the engine kit, or firewall forward kit. No, it's kit number 6. So here I received, actually before sending the plane to painting, I received my Rotax engine, which is here on a table. And one of the things, you would think that they send you the engine and you hang it on the firewall and so on and so forth. Tough luck. The first thing you have to do is remove all the stuff that's on the top, which is all the electronics, ignition, carburetors. And you see they are all still hooked up in a box here that's hanging from the ceiling. The reason I had to do that, because there is this dark piece here, which is in fiberglass. It's a shroud that allows to direct the cooling. You know, the Rotax is water-cooled, except that the heads that are water-cooled. The cylinders are still having fins. So you have to channel the cooling air. And for this, Vance is sending you a piece of fiberglass that you have to adapt exactly to the dimension, because it's rough from being molted, or I don't know how they build it. But you have to do a lot of adjustments, and then to seal it, you see the red, it's ATV. And to do that, you have to remove all that on the top. So that was quite a lot of work, tidy work. And here you see it's hung, and you see how much stuff I had removed. That's all what's on the top here. It's hung on the firewall now. And you see how short is the firewall to the tip. And the reason is that the RV-12 has a particularity to be a plane. So I told you removable wings, and we are sitting basically at the front of the wing. We are sitting in front of the spar, the wing spar, which means that the center of gravity has a tendency to be more ahead than the other airplanes. So they have to compensate it by making a very short firewall forward, which means that you have a very short hood in front of you while sitting in the plane. It's very particular to the RV-12, I think. So this is the front view. I see there are still things that are not hooked up. And I'm going to start working on the spinner, but I'm turning crazy, I think. And this is a very dangerous piece of hardware here. I still have the mark of it. It's a pitot tube. Because we have removable wings, the pitot is actually in the spinner, and it goes all you put the spinner on the propeller, everything, it goes through. But for a while this thing is protruding, and of course at some point before I put this warning here, I hit it and I had a big scar on my side here. So this is close to the end of the yes. So we are here in June of 2013 here, and taking the airplane to the airport finally, with the engine and the propeller in. This is Dan Kangas, a fellow RV-12 builder of this group, who helped me doing the work here. And the plane is ready here to go, and that's it for the firewall forward. Work at the airport. So at this point, you know, my empennage had never been mounted, and so the first thing I did at the airport, because it was too high and too wide to get out of my workshop, so I mounted the vertical stabilizer on the horizontal, and it was quite a difficult task. There is very little room to work, particularly with all the the articulations, and of course you have to hook up the controls. So it was relatively. I got lots of help with Dan also here, Dan Gangas. Here is a plane now almost ready to go, although we still have some details to take care of, particularly first run of the engine. Now, as I didn't build the engine, I didn't want to take any chance with the Rotax warranty, so I hired the local ANP, who is also a certified Rotax guy, Don Berry. So Don did the first run, which we are here doing very successfully. I made the mistake not to install the canopy, so you see the result. I already lost my cap here. And it gets worse actually, you know. So Don is looking here at the stuff. I'm holding tight. That was fun. Still, I had some fun doing it. Everything went well. Look at that, warp speed. Okay, and finally I worked on the inside, also install all the cushions, and it looks more and more like a certified plane actually, except that we have this big experimental in the back. So that's it. Do you have something else here? Ah, yeah. So finally, I go through the. Finally, I go to the certification. Went very well, and first flight. Test pilot Steve Merritt, one member of our group 2. Steve Merritt is the manager of the airport. I hired him to do my test flight and also my transition training. He's a CFI. So that was very convenient to me. I had the option. Most of RV-12 builders have a problem, or had a problem at the time with transition training, because there was only one place that was providing commercial transition training. It was the only place where there was a certified RV-12, which is an RV-12 built by Vance to make the certification of the RV-12 as an ELSA. So it's the only airplane on which you could pay somebody to train you. So this was in Oregon. Not very convenient, that's pretty expensive. So for me, the Steve Merritt solution was a no-brainer. And I was very, very happy with it. So the phase 1 for 5 hours went very quickly over a weekend, and then I was in business doing my transition training, which didn't need to be very long because of all the experience I had with the sport cruiser. In 5 hours my transition training was fine. And right after that, this is October, I did what I had intended to do since the beginning. I took the flight to FFA, to Kitty Hawk. And here I am, flying my plane around the Kitty Hawk Memorial here, and just ready to land on FFA runway, which is down here. Here I am, the ultimate, yeah, the end of a dream of many years. Life is good. This is Dan, who has also, as a CFI, he has been flying a lot with me, and I continue to learn every time I fly with him. So Dan is not here, but he's a great guy. Okay, thank you.
JP, can you explain the name of your blog?
Yes, so all these pictures actually are on my blog. I blogged my build for all the duration. I ended my blog actually with these pictures. There is no point, I don't build anymore. My blog is called Vieille Burette, which in English means old oil can. Why? that's related to the Wright brothers, actually. What happened in 2000, no, in 19...
13, 12? You weren't there.
1909, I think. The Wright brothers got a contract to build their airplane in France, at the same time as they got a contract with the US Army, actually, at the time. And so Wilbur went to France, and of course, as part of the contract, he had the necessity to to fabricate the engine in a French factory. So he spent some time on the factory floor explaining blue-collar workers how to build this engine. So he was not speaking any French, and the French guy didn't speak any English. But what the guys noticed that Wilbur, every day he was coming, he was, or every time he was introducing himself, he was introducing, as a good American, Wilbur Wright. Wilbur Wright, okay? Well, Wilbur Wright, for the French guys who don't know English, sounds like Vieille Burette. So they started nicknaming him Vieille Burette, old oil can. I love this story. It's why I call my blog Vieille Burette. You can find it, if you Google my name, actually, Vieille Burette will come up, and you can go directly through it through Google. Okay, thank you.
I have another question. If you don't mind, what is involved in the certification and also the documentation of your work?
You mean the airworthiness?
Yes, sir.
Well, you have basically everything provided by Vance for certification, because, of course, I declare that I built according to the plans. I'm not allowed to make any deviation. That's a trick of ELSA. Although, surprisingly, as soon as I have my certification, I can do whatever I want on this plane. It's amazing, you know. And all guys who have thought of changes that they would do it after the certification, after airworthiness. But else there is not too much. Actually, there is less than EAB. You know, the guy who did the certification didn't have any concern. As soon as I told him it's ELSA, he said, fine. You know, you signed that you did it according to the plans. It's your responsibility. So the inspection went pretty fast, much faster than an EAD.
So was this someone from the FAA or a DAR, or how does
No, it was a DAR.
you hire a DAR?
Yeah, and the nice thing about that is that this DAR, his name is Bob Wood.
Oh yeah.
You know Dwight, because he did the inspection. One day he did Dwight's plane, and the next day he did mine plane. And Bob Wood is a good friend of Rick Penke, who is our local ANP. So I somewhat hired Rick Penke to introduce Bob Wood to my plane. So they are good buddies, they trust each other. Rick had worked a little bit on my plane. I'm not going to tell you why, because it's a painful story. And I need to leave time to Dwight, but it went very well because of that, I think, mostly. Okay? Are we done?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we can turn this off.
Is that Mars or is that here?